Only one thing was kept on the empty bunk of the cell line: old training gloves. In the dim blue light of the medical bay, they looked completely alone and lifeless, just like their owner, who was currently in the intensive care unit in the next room. This was my first year at this academy. As a junior resident, I completed my routine scanning and wrote in the file, "Personal effects, no tactical value." I thought it was just a simple mark, a common thing that no longer had any use. I looked at SciFiStory's fracture report again. 3 joints had been broken in various places. This was no ordinary accident. This was the Corrivan Pack's signature attack. Synchronized, fast, and ruthless. Those 3 senior cadets called it authorized sparring, even though everyone knew SciFiStory was a fluid membrane species with no way to physically defend itself. Deji came that night. She was a Category 7 non-combatant, just 162 centimeters tall, weighing 58 kilograms. She came and saw only Celine's translucent body. She stood silently near the bunk. Then she looked at me and asked a strange question. "Don't your bones grow back?" My hand shook, and a scanner fell to the ground, breaking. There was no anger in her expression, no emotion, and that's what struck me as the strangest. She said nothing further and quietly walked away. I made a mistake, a very big mistake. I mistook the man's silence for weakness. What happened next, in fact, forever changed the way I viewed the medical profession. For the next 48 hours, the station was strangely quiet. There was no noise except the humming of the ventilation system. Deji didn't file any reports, didn't speak to any Corrin cadets. The photosynthetic patches on my neck, which had darkened with stress after seeing SciFiStory's condition, had now returned to their normal light-dependent state. I and everyone else thought the matter was over. What could one small, lonely person do against those 3 authority-track Corvins? It was best that she cowered and retreated because she had no other choice. But this partial assessment of mine was my worst folly. People don't forget, they just wait. Exactly 48 hours later, at 3:47 station time, the atmosphere in Wing 9 suddenly changed. Deji was gone, as if something was coming in that shouldn't be there. I was passing through the corridor for my late-night rounds when I saw her. Deji stood there alone. She was wearing SciFiStory's old training gloves. They were too bare for her hands, but she kept them firmly on. Across the corridor, on the other side, stood the same 3 Corrivan cadets. Their 3 hinged jaws were slightly open, and their exoskeletal ridges were locked in aggressive pack synchronization. But Deji didn't change her path. She continued walking toward them. An armored Gorg bystander was passing very close by. Suddenly, the Gorg's predator threat display glands activated automatically, its heavily armored plates locking into defensive mode. This was an involuntary reflex that, in its entire history, had only been triggered in the presence of a verified apex predator. The Gorg couldn't move a step further from there. The photosynthetic patches on my neck suddenly shrank and turned completely black. My body knew what my brain refused to understand. The cold, lifeless hum of Wing 9's atmospheric regulators continued until Deji took her first step. She used her peripheral vision to glance at the 3 Corvin cadets. By the shape of their jaw crest, she immediately recognized the pack leader. She ignored the other 2 cadets and headed straight for the leader, completely breaking the structure of their pack hierarchy. The leader lunged forward and landed a powerful strike on Deji's shoulder. His mind was preparing for the next attack, expecting the bone-shattering sound that would send the frail victim crashing to the ground. But his patience was abruptly cut short when the woman didn't even bat an eye. She did not turn around and kill him. When the leader charged again, Deji blocked it with SciFiStory's gloved hand. That glove absorbed a blow that perhaps her own bones didn't even need to bear. Then, with absolute ease, Deji capitalized on the leader's momentum and hurled him straight at the wall. "You might want to step back for this part," Deji said slowly to the remaining 2 cadets. Those cadets automatically retreated. Seeing their leader on the ground, they gestured to each other. "Let her go," one said to his fallen leader. "Not for her sake, for yours." Then a cadet present there timidly asked Deji which self-defense technique she had used. "Cardio," she replied succinctly. The database translated this as Pursuit Predation Endurance Protocol. From behind, the security chief's whisper was heard specifically for the Corvins. "Stand down, all of you, now." When investigated later, Daiji's medical file revealed the truth. A human's adrenal response is activated in just 0.3 seconds, and during that time their pain receptors are suppressed by 87%. The density of her bones was 4.2 times greater than that of the Corvin exoskeleton. The most terrifying truth hidden in her medical scans was that waiting for her was not a deliberate move, but rather she had been trying to cool down the dangerous biological combat stimulants circulating in her body for the past 20 hours so that she would not accidentally kill anyone. If she had answered the first day, "I never managed to complete that sentence," she had come to him at her weakest point. The next day, Wing 9 was sealed under the pretext of a structural assessment. Command wanted this incident to remain undisclosed in any official records. Selfine's old training gloves were now locked in the evidence locker, newly classified as improvised impact limiters, Deathworld origin, and filed not as weapons, but in the Mercy folder. Even today, when she walks down the corridor wearing the new gloves, my photosynthetic patches darken automatically. My body knows how dangerous she is. But even more terrifying is that she doesn't even consider herself dangerous. When I returned to my quarters, my body felt quite heavy. Maybe the gravity of the station had changed.